Good morning, everybody. I'm Melisa Nielsen with Waldorf Essentials and other things. Notice today's topic is non-toxic holidays. What in the heck does that mean? Well, we tend to do this to ourselves where we sort of head into the holiday season, and my American friends are likely celebrating some sort of feast with a turkey this week. But it does not have to just mean Thanksgiving, because we've got so many other holidays that are coming. This sort of starts the ball rolling for, probably 10 or more family events or church events or, just events where there are going to be other people that are well-meaning people, but somehow think they need to be part of your business. and not your business that you run, but your personal business. So I thought it would be a good idea to just sort of have a check-in. I know we've done videos about this before, but I thought we'd do a check-in on sort of how to get you to a place where you just don't care. So the first thing I would say is, if there's an event, maybe it's a partner's business Christmas party, or maybe it's a church party, or maybe it's a family event, and you are not wanting to get into it with somebody about sort of the way you live, or just your choices, be it political or otherwise. You just don't want to get into it with people. I'm going to say the very first and easiest thing for you to do would be not to go. Just don't go. That would be the first and easiest thing to do. The second thing would be to make sure that if you do decide to go and you think, first of all, I want you to ask yourself, why am I going? If you really don't want to be around these people, ask yourself why you're going. So that would be like being an agent place, and really getting yourself into a place where you are an agent and you are truthful with yourself about sort of how you're feeling. If you decide, hey, no, I'm going to go support my partner, or I'm going to go because I like most of the people at church, even though some of them are ornery, or I'm going to go to this family event because I really want to support my parents, or whatever reason you decide to go, are all good reasons, I want you to make sure that you are, one, on the same page with your partner. Nothing is harder than going into a situation where the two of you are like this instead of like together. So you definitely want to be on the same page together. What does that mean? That means that in all instances, he or she has your back completely. So you have this conversation beforehand. Hey, we're going to your Aunt Susie's house, and Aunt Susie is really has a good time quizzing the children on their times tables. What do you think you could do to help back me up so that our kids don't feel uncomfortable and we can actually have fun with Aunt Susie? And so have those conversations beforehand. And the solution to that might just be that your partner keeps the children in a place where they're not like inundated with Aunt Susie, and somebody else keeps Aunt Susie busy the entire time. Maybe you're talking to her about her garden or something that really lights her up. If it's in a church situation where maybe people from a weekly standpoint, but you're not sort of with them every day, you can be kind and just say, we do things a little bit differently, and I would really just appreciate it if you didn't quiz them. That's a really easy way to sort of say, hey, I really don't want you to do that. I think that if you are in a place where you have somebody that pushes even harder, and often we are, then I think it is okay for sure to sort of stand your ground and say, hey, I really like you. And this would be like in a church situation. It could even be at a family function. It's okay to say, I really like you, but you had an opportunity to raise your children, and I want you to give me the opportunity to raise mine. And then be done. Don't carry it around with you. Don't be rattled by it. Just let it roll off your back and be done with that conversation and walk away. You can excuse yourself from that conversation. That you don't have to stay sort of inundated with this person and their energy. Hopefully being firm And when I say being firm, you can't like have a shaky voice and feel not sure of yourself when you're having this conversation. Hopefully when you are firm, then that person's tone will change. They will realize if they're healthy, they will realize they crossed a boundary. And they will then, in turn, change the subject, go find somebody else to talk to, or something in a more healthy way. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes you have to be a little more firm. My hope is, though, that you won't. My hope is that if you find yourself in a situation where somebody is badgering you, that you will just leave. Because it's okay to leave. It's okay to say, you know what, honey, if you want to stay here and finish this up, that's great. But the kids and I, we really need to leave. It's just really uncomfortable. And hopefully also that will cue your partner in to go, wait a minute, what happened? And have you then again, both on the same page, both having a conversation about why this is uncomfortable. Now, I want you to get to a place where you're really confident about things. Now, I don't know if any of my family's watching, but my mother, if she is, will laugh at this. There was a time when people were like, why are you doing that? What? And it was around the fact that I was breastfeeding, extended breastfeeding, and I cloth diapered. And then after I had more than 2 children, all of my sister-in-laws were like, I don't know what she's doing. She's just crazy. And after that, I know that they probably all looked at me like as this crazy person that, in a loving way, of course, that just did her own thing. And then they stopped bugging me about it. So that's really the key too. Plus, I'm super confident. So you've got to get super confident. So if you are new to this homeschooling gig or you are still not feeling super confident in it, you have to get as confident as you are with other things in your life. So are you super confident? Were you super confident about breastfeeding? You got to get that confident. You got to be like, yep, this is what we're doing. Were you super confident about positive parenting or about how you eat? Or pick something that you are really, really confident in. And that's the face you want to put on for these family events, for these civic events that you go to, so that you have the confidence that doesn't shake people. When you're confident, they go, oh, well, I'm not going to change her mind. So, and then you're done with it. And you also want to sort of give your partner the same things to bolster he or she up so that they feel like they could also be as confident as you are when it comes to things. You want to really be in that place of helping them to come to that place of confidence. I know often when dads go off to work and their wives are homeschooling, and they see, like, hey, the dude that sits in the cubby next to me, his kids are doing X, Y, and Z at school. And then dad's like, how do I enter that conversation? Give dad ways to enter that conversation. Talk about things that you're doing. That's why family council is so, so important, because then dad knows what you're doing every day. He knows what it is that you're working on in your main lessons. He knows sort of how you're feeling with different things that you've got going on. He is intimately involved, even though he's not right there with you. So those family council meetings are super, super important. I would make sure that you are on the same page with regards to everything. Now, if you're not, we've got some programs for you. No, I would seriously, if you are one of our Thinking, Feeling, Willing members, I would seriously, if you're struggling to be on the same page, I would really look at the mom lesson on our Thrive program. And I would really get in touch with us about some coaching with regards to that, because honestly, mom and dad need to be on the same page. They just need to be, for your children's sake, for the sake of your partnership, and for your sanity. I lived in a situation where I wasn't, and that was too hard. Hard on me, hard on kids, and it's really easy for things to spiral out of control. With regards to sort of having a non-toxic holiday season with family and other instances or other groups, but that's really what I would do. One, decide whether or not you actually have to go. If you really don't, and then you have to ask yourself, if you're like, no, I don't have to go, then you have to ask yourself, are you not going because you're being antisocial, because your children need some social, or are you not going because it will make you feel crappy? You don't want to feel crappy. That's Not okay. It's not good. So, so you want to make sure you get that out of the way. And then, second, then be on the same page with your partner and have a game plan. Have a game plan. Let your partner know, Aunt Susie makes me feel really uncomfortable. And if she is really nasty to me, I'm just going to leave. And your partner has to be okay with that. So if we've got dads listening, or other partners listening, I want you to go, oh, this makes her feel crappy. Okay, I'm okay with you leaving. Because nobody wants to be in a spot where they feel intimidated, where they feel like they can't get away or go anywhere. When there were many times when we lived in Idaho, where we would just go for a walk as a family. Remember those days, honey? When it would be like the TV was on too much, and in my in-laws' house, who I love dearly, but the TV, my father-in-law loves Rachel Maddow. Like, I was like constant, all news all the time. And then when it's not that, it might be Judge Judy. Both things that I really could care. I don't want my kids to be watching. So we would just go for a walk. We would just, even in the cold, we would just bundle up and go for a walk. You have anything over there?
Kelly says, popular question, how late to stay?
Oh, you're right. That is a really popular question. How late to stay? Well, definitely not past bedtime. I would say that if you go, I don't know when your family starts the Thanksgiving festivities or the Christmas festivities. I would say the earlier the better. I would say with regards to bedtime, I would say, hey, we really like to keep our bedtime. So we're going to be leaving here at 7 or whatever it is. But you want to sort of lay that expectation before you even go. So you want to make sure that Aunt Susie or your mother or whoever is in charge of the family function, that they know that you're going to be leaving at 7. And then you're going to leave at 7. Because what happens is you don't leave at 7 this time, but next time there's a family event and you say you're going to leave at 7, they're going to assume you're not. And then you lose your credibility. So if you're going to leave at 7, leave at 7. But make sure you have that plan with your partner in advance so that you're on the same page, so that you both know, yes, we're leaving at 7. So you're really getting sort of into that space of, hey, we're leaving. So that means at 6:30, maybe even at 6 o'clock, you're looking at your watch, you're going, okay, I can see what the kids are doing. You're looking around and you're getting yourself into a space where you know you're going to be getting ready to leave, so that it's not a big deal.
Any tips on how to leave with the kids without a scene? Sometimes kids want to stay even when mom isn't comfy.
Yes. I would have your conversation with your children before you go. We do that often. We'll have a conversation. We'll say, here's the rules of the game tonight. And like anytime, like for us, because we don't have family around near, but even when we did, it was not really an issue. We would say, hey, we're going for a walk. We're going for a walk. We're going to take a break from the TV. We're going to go for a walk. I would rather go for a walk than tell my father-in-law that he can't watch what he's watching. So we would go for a walk. And that would sort of break that, because kids are like moths to a flame, especially if they don't watch TV on a regular basis. They're like, what is that? They don't care that it's news. So, I would go for a walk that sort of breaks that cycle. And then you want to check in with your kids regularly while you're there. But like I said, you also want to start with in the car ride on the way to wherever you're going. We're leaving at 7. I want to make sure that we keep your bedtime, or whatever your reasoning is, that you need to leave at 7. I will give you a warning at 6:30 that you have 30 minutes. Now, if this is a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, don't do that, because they don't know 30 minutes. But you can say, I'm going to make sure I give you lots of warnings when it's time to go. But when I say it's time, it's really time. And then y'all, I have left with a tantruming child. It's okay. It is okay. You pick that child up and you go, I'm sorry, I love you all, we're leaving. And you leave. You just go. It's not as hard as you're making it out in your head. I promise. I've got a comment over here. What if you're the one hosting? How do you kindly ask people to leave without it being awkward, even if everyone's having a good time? Well, if you're hosting, make sure you put an end time on your festivities. So you send out the invitation that says, Christmas party at the Nielsens starts at 6, ends at 9. Make sure that you put that in your invitation information. You also might say, as you're all sitting down maybe to dinner, or you have everybody's attention, maybe you're doing a toast or whatever, you might say, we really want to make sure that we wrap up here tonight by 9 p.m. or whatever your time is. And if you've got friends that are quality time friends, rather than, quantity time. No, maybe I have that backwards. Quantity time over quality time friends. I would make sure you make eye contact with them and say, we're going to be done at 9. And make sure you make good eye contact with them so that they have it in their head, oh, she's talking to me. She is talking to me. And then you start to clean up. About 15 minutes before your time is up, you start to, cleaning up. So you're getting people helping you clean up if it's at your house. And
Melanie says, I found that starting to clean up dishes makes people leave pretty fast.
It makes people really uncomfortable because they're like, oh, she wants us to go home.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
We don't go to things because every time we go anywhere like that, they put the kids somewhere and the grown-ups somewhere else. The kids have technology and just go do whatever. In the past, when we would go places, I would just stay with my kids and try to hold the space, but it would just be exhausting. We haven't gone anywhere in years because I felt it was too much to be here for hours. I did this so my husband could visit, and he wants our family to go, but after a few times like this, I just said I don't want to do this anymore. I feel bad, but it's just so much. Is there any way to handle this? And then she says, no, I think he feels he has to say no to things because our family size and how I feel. All his coworkers have 2 kids spaced out and in school and in the culture norms.
Right. So a couple of things to consider. 1, get a sitter and go by yourselves, because then you can easily extract yourself. That's one suggestion, and one that we have employed for sure. And people will say, where's your kids? And you go, oh, well, we just wanted a night out by ourselves, and just, be nonchalant about it. Then you can extract yourself when you're ready. The other thing I would say, and we've done this for years, I was thinking about my mom's house, who, again, I love my mom dearly, but usually what's on at her house is not the news, it's like a football game. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's definitely, that comes with the holidays, but it's definitely not something that kids are usually interested in. Now, she has another TV that she's starting to collect movies that she'll put a movie on. But that's not even something that we necessarily want to do. So she also has this big bucket of Legos that she has had since my big kids were little. And so we'll sit on the floor in the common area and play Legos with our kids. We've done that for years. Even when older cousins were off on something handheld or off watching something else, we'll sit in the common area with our kids and play Legos. And if you're going someplace where they don't have that, take something with you and just camp out in the center. That's what I would do. And if they go, oh, don't your kids want to go play? You could, absolutely, because I, as far as I am about holding the space, yes, but you don't want to be a helicopter parent either. I would say if it's a place where your certain family rules will not be followed, then keep them near you. If it's a situation where you can check on them often, then let them go and check on them often. If it's a situation where there's just, things going on that you just don't really want them doing, then really consider going just by yourselves, and consider having a conversation with the host and just saying, listen, it's really hard when I bring all my kids here. I know you love us and we love you so much, but we have a lot of kids. I think, Rhiannon, you're due with number 6, I think. And so I remember those years when they were young enough that, like, when we had, right after we had Soraya. So we had teenagers, but there was everybody in between. And it is hard to take a big family to places that aren't conducive to that. So you want to keep that host in mind too. So I think that, trust me, that host is probably like, oh, and she's going to bring all of her kids because That's what people that don't have a lot of kids do. Like me, in my head, I go, oh, well, she's got 3 and she's got 2. And I'm like, I'm preparing for it all because I have a lot of kids. And so I know what it's like. And I want people to feel welcome when they come to our tiny house. But I want that atmosphere. I want people to feel welcome. And so I plan for what's going to happen with those kids. Most people don't. Grandparents often forget what it's like to have everybody around. And if it's, if it's a sibling that only has maybe 1 or 2 children, they have no idea what it's like. So you want to plan for it. And you also want to have a good conversation with the host. I would say don't skip out on family events that your partner wants to go on, but consider finding a sitter so that you can go for a few hours. Now, if it is a travel space, if you travel away, because I know this is the reality for a lot of people, I would highly consider not staying with the family member that's hosting everything. That's a lot of stress and pressure. And if you are, then go on a lot of walks. Decide when you get there, get there, get settled, go for your first walk and just say, hey, we're going to go explore. And everybody bundle up and go explore the neighborhood. Go see where you are. Go check it out when it's daylight. So then it's not so weird when it's night. You could take any lanterns that you made for Martin Mess with you and use those and go on a lantern walk while you're there. Make sure everybody has a flashlight so that you can go out at night. Prepare. And so the part of that's on you as mom to really prepare and really think about the family that you're going to see and what amenities they have. And if their only amenities are technology for entertainment, then you want to bring your own things and you want to be prepared to go for a walk. And you start sort of getting momentum when people see, oh, those kids don't need to watch TV. I know that one thing that my parents always appreciated was that my kids really interacted with their grandparents and their aunts and uncles, and that they could hold a conversation. Not that the other ones couldn't, but that they were there and they were able to really have a conversation. They weren't off, doing something with something electronic. It sort of set my children apart, and I think that's okay. I will say that it makes for some uncomfortable conversations at first, but once you start having them and you get your strength behind you, I think it's a good thing. I wanted to cover really quickly, and I almost forgot, what do you do about present opening at family events? Because that is a big one. If you are part of a family that does a gift exchange for all of the grandkids, or you're in a place where there's a gift exchange for everybody, first prepare your children. Prepare your children before you go there. And I say things like, you are welcome to unwrap everything that you get, but let's not take everything out of the packaging. I don't want things to get lost while we're here. And that's like my outside reasoning. I don't want things to get lost. I also then prime with, also keep in mind that if you get something that you really hate, we can just go exchange it and just be done. You don't have to say, and you want to make sure you don't have a child that goes, my mom said we can just exchange this. You don't want to open that door. But by not taking it out of the packaging and having sort of that rule. Now, if you go to a family function where they're getting many gifts, I usually, and they're going to get many gifts, usually my rule is you can take 1, maybe 2 things out of the packaging, and we discuss which ones they are. And I make sure that when I'm having this conversation, I have it in front of the person who gave the gift, and I say, and I really just don't want them to lose any pieces while we're here. So I'm going to tuck it away in my bag, and we'll get it out when we get home. And just leave it at that. Do not overthink it. Just leave it at that. Most people will be like, oh, that's really great. That's really great that you're really thinking of that. Then on your way home, you can have the conversation. If your children are really little, and we did this, I did this with, and my ex-husband was on board at the time when my big kids were really little. We would go to his family's house for Christmas, and they would get inundated. We'd come home with 10 or 12 gifts. And that's when I started that rule of let's only open one thing. And bonus, if that one thing's like a stuffed animal or something, I can go, isn't this cozy? Just go snuggle up with this and we'll play with this toy later. Put everything in the trunk and leave it in the trunk when y'all get home. And just go, oh, we'll think about that stuff tomorrow. Go get a good night's sleep. then tackle it the next day. The next day, open the trunk and go, you know, we've got so much here. Let's just decide what we can exchange and what we can give to somebody else and what you really, really, really want to keep. And now I know there are people going, I couldn't do that. People took gifts away from me when I was a child and I have poop about that. And this is what I will say to you. Fix your poop. Your kids don't need all that crap. They really don't need all the stuff that comes with that. So get yourself in a place where it's not poop anymore, where it's not like, it's not something that you continually struggle with. And if you're shaking your head at me going, I just don't know what you're talking about, that's just not okay. It is okay. It is okay. We live in in the logical you knows this, that we live in a space that's so consumer driven that we're trying to sort of back that off a bit for our children and give them better values, better tools, better ways to deal with things. So have conversations about it regularly. There's too much stuff coming into your house. It's going to forget it. And if you're sort of going into this holiday season about like, how do I keep from having all the present inundation? One of the things that I really do is I ask, when we used to do gift exchange with my nieces and nephews, I would say, what does Whitney want? And I would ask her mom. I don't just go out and shop for her. I would ask, what does she want? So that then it like would trigger my sister-in-laws to go, what do your kids want? So then I could go, here's some choices. Here's some, and we keep an Amazon wish list that we can easily share with family. And on that Amazon wish list are things that we are like happy welcoming into our home. And there are things of all price levels, because often people go, man, I really wanted to get you that wooden toy, but dang, that little giraffe was $40. And so they don't want to buy that. So make sure that there are things of all prices on your wish list so that you can pass things off to family easily. And my mom just got in the habit of saying, she would get like the Magic Cabin catalog or the Nova catalog. And when she would come visit, she before Christmas, or she would send it to us before Christmas and tell the kids, mark this up and send it back to me. I made it really easy, but she got on board. She got on board because she knew I returned things. And I remember telling my ex-mother-in-law one year, because she got so much stuff. Like we could have, my ex-husband and I could have had no Christmas and it would have been fine. The children had so much stuff. And we returned like 90% of it because a lot of it wasn't great quality stuff. And the kids had asked for something specific and she bought nothing from what they asked. And the kids were like, what do we do with this? This isn't what we asked for. So we took it all back. And in those days, Toys R Us still sold wooden Thomas the Tank Trains. I don't know if they still do, but we took it all back. That was all they wanted. That was all both big boys asked for was Thomas the Tank Trains and track. And we took everything back in exchange for that. We had like $90 or something crazy like that for them to spend on track. And then when the next Christmas was coming around, around Thanksgiving, I said to her, I just want to have a conversation with you about gifts. And it was I will tell you, it was a hard conversation to have. And she already wasn't my best friend. Excuse me. But I said, remember all of the stuff you guys got last year? We took it all back. So if you really want things that the kids will play with, can we have a conversation about asking them what they really want and then listening? After that, we didn't have that problem. We didn't have to return so much stuff after that. So don't be afraid to sort of only allow things in your house that fit with your values. I think it's okay. Your kids will get over it. They do. Now they might be 35 or 40 and stop poop about it, but hopefully not. Not if you bring it to them in the right way. Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. Just gonna say that and leave that here. Gonna drop the mic now. See y'all later. Hope you have a good week. Bye.